My grandson Tyler told me my old Buick had become unsafe and that I had agreed to let him sell it for me. I had owned that car since William was still alive. It was not fancy, but it was paid for, reliable, and one of the last pieces of independence I had left. At the dealership, Tyler spoke over me as if I were not there. "She gets confused about conversations," he told the sales manager. But the manager had saved the voicemail Tyler left the night before. He pressed play, and we heard my grandson ask whether they could move fast before she changes her mind. The only problem was, I had never agreed. And the voice message revealed Tyler knew that. Subscribe for more family justice stories and tell me, would you ever let a relative negotiate your car sale without you present? The showroom went quiet after that voicemail ended. It was not a dramatic kind of quiet. Nobody gasped. Nobody pointed a finger at Tyler. The sales manager simply lowered his hand from the speakerphone and looked from my grandson to me with a careful expression. Tyler's face changed first. The confidence he had carried into that dealership disappeared so quickly that I could almost see him trying to gather it back. "That's not what I meant," he said. The manager, a man named Mr. Hanley, folded his hands over the desk. "Then what did you mean, Tyler?" Tyler looked at me instead of answering him. "Grandma," he said softly, using the voice he used when he wanted something. "You know you said the car was becoming a hassle." I was standing beside my Buick's keys, which he had placed on Mr. Hanley's desk before I had even understood why we were there. I looked at those keys. They had a little blue plastic tag from the hardware store on the ring, the kind William had bought because he said old hands should not have to search through a purse for 5 minutes. Then I looked back at Tyler. "I said my knees hurt after driving across town in the rain," I told him. "I did not say you could sell my car." His jaw tightened. "You said you didn't drive much anymore." "I said I drive less than I used to." "Those are not the same words." Mr. Hanley turned the keys around so they faced me. "Mrs. Clark, for the record, do you want to sell your Buick today?" "No," I said. The word came out more firmly than I expected. "No, I do not." Tyler let out a long breath through his nose. "This is exactly what I was talking about." She gets upset when people ask her simple questions. I had spent most of my life trying to keep peace inside rooms where other people were behaving badly. I had done it when my children were young. I had done it with William's difficult older brother. I had done it at the library when patrons returned books 6 months late and acted offended that someone had noticed. But there was something different about hearing my own grandson describe me as if I were not standing 3 feet away. I looked directly at him. "Do not use concern as a way to make me disappear," I said. Tyler's eyes flickered. Mr. Hanley reached for a printed sheet on his desk. "I'm going to stop this transaction," he said. "No paperwork has been completed, no title has been transferred, and the vehicle remains yours, Mrs. Clark." Tyler turned toward him. "She brought the car in herself." "No," I said. I had not planned to speak again, but the lie pushed the words out of me. "You called me this morning and told me you wanted to take me to lunch. You said your car was in the shop and asked if you could drive mine." Tyler stared at the floor. "And when we arrived here," I continued, "you said you needed to ask about a repair estimate because you were worried about my brakes. You did not tell me you had arranged a sale." Mr. Hanley's expression became more serious. Tyler lifted both hands. "I was trying to help her. That car is old. She doesn't need to be driving around by herself." "I drove myself here," I said. He had no answer for that. A few minutes later, Mr. Hanley walked me out to my Buick. Tyler followed behind us, close enough that I could feel the anger coming off him, but not close enough to touch me. The late afternoon sun was low over the dealership lot. It shone across the faded silver paint of my car, catching the small dent near the rear bumper that William had made years ago while backing out of our driveway. He had been embarrassed about it for weeks. I had teased him every time we passed that side of the car. "Still trying to escape from me?" I would say, and he would smile and say, "I married you. I made my peace with being caught." That Buick had carried us to doctor's appointments, church dinners, hardware stores, graduations, and the little lake cabin we rented every autumn until William became too tired to travel. It had carried me home alone after his funeral. When the house felt so quiet, I sat in the driveway for nearly 10 minutes before I could make myself go inside. It was not just transportation. It was proof that I could still choose where I went, when I went, and whether I needed anyone's permission. Tyler waited until Mr. Hanley returned to the building. Then he stepped closer. "You embarrassed me in there," he said. I rested my hand on the driver's side door. "No, Tyler. You embarrassed yourself." His face hardened. "You don't understand what things cost now. I understand more than you think. You pay insurance on a car you barely use. You pay maintenance. You pay registration. I was trying to get you money while the car still has value. And where exactly was that money going to go?" His eyes shifted away from mine. That was the first time I understood this had not been only about the Buick. Tyler had always been charming when he needed something. He was 31 years old, handsome in the easy way young men can be, with a warm smile and a habit of calling every older woman Mom until they gave him what he wanted. When he was little, he had spent weekends at our house. William taught him how to change a tire on that same Buick in our driveway. Tyler would sit on the concrete beside him, asking questions with grease on his cheeks and a juice box balanced between his knees. William used to say, "That boy has quick hands. We just need to make sure he grows a steady heart." After William died, Tyler came around more often for a while. At first, I was grateful. He brought groceries. He changed light bulbs. He helped me set up the new television remote after I accidentally pressed something and lost every channel except a weather station from Dayton. Then, little by little, his help began to come with questions. Did I still need the Buick? Why did I keep so many paper statements? Had I considered moving closer to family? Was I really comfortable driving at night? The questions were wrapped in concern, but they never made me feel cared for. They made me feel inspected. I had noticed that. I simply had not wanted to believe it meant anything. That evening, Tyler drove away without saying goodbye. I sat in my Buick for a long time after he left the dealership. The engine ticked quietly beneath the hood. My hands rested on the steering wheel. William had covered with a simple black wrap after the original leather began to crack. I thought about calling my daughter Melissa. She was Tyler's mother, and I wanted to believe she would tell me I was overthinking it. I wanted her to say Tyler had made a foolish decision, nothing more. But I had learned something after William passed away. When a person has already tried to take control of something that belongs to you, it is dangerous to hand them the chance to shape the first version of the story. So instead of calling Melissa, I drove home. The next morning, I made coffee before sunrise and sat at my kitchen table with a yellow legal pad. I wrote down everything I could remember, the time Tyler called, what he said about lunch, the route he took, the dealership name, Mr. Hanley's voicemail, the exact words Tyler had spoken after we left. I wrote until my hand cramped. Then I opened the small filing cabinet in my den, the one William had labeled with masking tape and a black marker. Insurance, tax, home, car. I had always laughed at his labels because he wrote them in big block letters, like the folders might run away if he was not strict enough. Inside the car drawer, I found the Buick's title, registration, insurance card, service records, and a folder full of receipts. Nothing was missing. But when I checked the title more carefully, I noticed something that made my stomach turn. The original title was still there, but the folder had been disturbed. I knew because William had once tucked a small photograph inside the front cover. It was a picture of Tyler at age 8, grinning beside the Buick after he had helped wash it. The photograph was no longer in its place. I searched the whole drawer before I found it inside the back flap of an old oil change invoice. That might sound like a small thing, but people who respect your property do not move things around inside your private files and then pretend they never touch them. I sat back in my chair and stared at the photograph. Tyler must have been in that drawer. The thought was painful, but it fit too neatly with everything else. 3 weeks earlier, he had come over while I was at physical therapy for my knee. He had said he wanted to check the smoke detector batteries. I remembered finding him in the den when I got home. At the time, he had smiled and held up a ladder. "Your hallway detector was chirping," he said. I believed him because I wanted to. Now I wondered what else he had looked through. I called my insurance agent, a patient woman named Lori Bennett, whom I had known for years. I did not accuse Tyler of anything. I simply asked whether anyone had contacted the office about my Buick. There was a pause on the line, then she said, "Mrs. Clark, I'm glad you called." My fingers tightened around the phone. "Why?" "Last week, someone called asking whether your policy could be canceled if the car was sold privately." My mouth went dry. "Who called?" "They did not identify themselves clearly, but they said they were your grandson and that you had asked them to take care of some things." I closed my eyes. "Did you give him any information?" "Nothing about coverage or policy details. We require confirmation from you for that." "But he knew your name, the vehicle year, and your address." I thanked her, hung up, and sat very still. That was not a misunderstanding. That was preparation. Tyler had called the dealership the night before. He had called my insurance office the week before. He had gone through my records when I was not home, and I still did not know why he was in such a hurry. By noon, I had made another call. This one was to my friend Nora Jenkins. Nora and I had worked together at the Willow Creek Community Library for nearly 20 years. She retired before I did, but she still knew how to find the truth in a stack of paperwork, better than anyone I had ever met. When I told her what happened, she did not interrupt me. When I finished, she said, "Rebecca, first thing, do not confront him alone again." I already did. I know. You are kind, not careless. But kindness has to change shape when somebody decides to use it against you. Her words settled over me. Nora came by that afternoon with a folder, 2 pens, and the determined expression she used to wear whenever a parent tried to argue that their child deserved special treatment for destroying library property. Together, we made copies of my title, registration, insurance card, and service records. We photographed the contents of every drawer in the filing cabinet. Nora suggested I move the original title and other important documents to a safe deposit box at my bank. "I hate that it has come to this," I told her as we sorted papers across my dining room table. "So do I," she said. "But hating it does not mean ignoring it." Before she left, she looked toward the den. "Does Tyler have a key?" "Yes," I said. "He had one for emergencies." Nora did not need to say anything. Her face said it for her. That evening, I called a locksmith and scheduled an appointment for the next day. I did not tell Tyler. I did not tell Melissa. And when I went to bed, I placed my purse on the chair beside me instead of its usual place as by the front door. It felt strange to be cautious inside my own home. But stranger still was realizing I had begun to feel unsafe, not because of a burglar, not because of a stranger, but because a boy I had once held on my lap had decided my independence was something he could bargain away. The next morning, before the locksmith arrived, my phone rang. Tyler's name lit up the screen. For a moment, I almost let it go to voicemail. Then I answered. "Good morning, Tyler." His voice sounded too cheerful. "Hey, Grandma. I was thinking about yesterday. I shouldn't have pushed you." "I know that." I waited. "But I've been worrying about you," he continued. "And there's something I need to tell you before Mom gets involved and makes it into a whole thing." My heart began to beat faster. "What is it?" There was a pause. Then he said, "I borrowed some money, and I'm behind. It's not as bad as it sounds. I just need a little time." I looked toward the den, toward the filing cabinet he had opened when he thought I would never notice. "Does this have something to do with my Buick?" I asked. The silence on the other end was longer this time. And when Tyler finally spoke, his voice had lost all warmth. "You said you wanted to help family. You said you wanted to help family." For a few seconds, I could not speak. It was such a familiar sentence. I had heard it in one form or another all my life. William and I had said it when Tyler was a boy and needed new school clothes after his father disappeared for the 3rd time. We said it when Melissa called in tears because the rent was late. We said it when Tyler needed money for community college, and then again when he said he needed a little extra time to finish. Helping family had always meant giving what you could without keeping score. But Tyler had turned those words into a bill he believed I owed him. "I have helped family," I said at last. "That does not mean you get to take from me." His voice sharpened. "I'm not taking anything. I was going to sell one old car. My car. You barely drive it. My car," I repeated. He was quiet. Then he said, "You don't know what it's like out here, Grandma. I'm trying to keep my head above water. I am sorry you are struggling, but you do not get to solve your problem by creating one for me. You wouldn't even notice if it was gone." That sentence hurt more than the others. Not because it was clever. It was not. It was cruel because it showed me exactly how little he thought my choices mattered. I looked through the front window at my Buick parked in the driveway. It was washed clean from the rain the day before. The silver paint was old, yes. The tires were not new, but it was there because I wanted it there. I noticed when you moved the photograph in my car file, I told him. The line went silent. I noticed you called my insurance company. I noticed you arranged a sale before you ever asked me. And I noticed you only admitted you needed money after you were caught. His breathing changed. Who have you been talking to? That is not your concern. Mom is going to hear about this. Yes, I said. She is. Then I ended the call. My hand shook after I set the phone down. I will not pretend I felt strong in that moment. I felt sad. I felt tired. I felt like I had been handed a version of my grandson I did not recognize and told I had to decide what to do with him. But Nora's words came back to me. Kindness has to change shape. The locksmith arrived just after 10. His name was Raymond, a broad-shouldered man in his 50s with calm eyes and a work van full of neatly organized tools. I explained that I wanted the locks changed and that I needed every old key disabled. He did not ask me for a family history. He did not tell me I was being dramatic. He simply nodded and said, "That's your right, Mom." There was comfort in hearing something so plain. While he worked, I sat at the kitchen table and watched him through the doorway. Every few minutes, he tested a lock, made an adjustment, and checked it again. It was careful work, nothing grand about it. Just a man making sure a door would close when it was supposed to close. When he was finished, he placed 2 new keys on the table. "One for you," he said. "One spare. Keep the spare somewhere secure." I picked up the first key. It was bright brass, heavier than the old one. Raymond held out a clipboard. "I also recommend updating any garage code, security code, and emergency contact information." I looked at the emergency contact line. Tyler's name had been written there years ago in my own handwriting. For a moment, I could not bring myself to cross it out. Then I did. I wrote Nora's number instead. After Raymond left, I called my daughter. Melissa answered on the 4th ring. "Mom, I'm at work. Is everything okay?" "No," I said. "It is not." The silence that followed was immediate. I told her what had happened at the dealership. I told her about the voicemail, the insurance call, the filing cabinet, and Tyler's admission that he was behind on money. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she sighed. "Mom, Tyler has been under a lot of pressure." I closed my eyes. "Did you know he was trying to sell my car?" "No." "Of course not." "Did you know he had money problems?" Another pause. "Not exactly, Melissa." "He mentioned some bills," she said quietly, "but he said he was handling it." "Then why did he think my Buick was his to sell?" "I don't know." The pain in her voice sounded real, but so did the caution. I had seen that caution before. It was the careful distance people keep when they are afraid the truth will require them to choose a side. "He said I wouldn't notice if it was gone," I told her. Melissa inhaled sharply. "Mom, I need you to understand something. This is not about whether that car is old. It is not about whether Tyler is stressed. He lied to a dealership. He tried to speak for me. He went through my private records. And he acted as if I was too confused to make my own decisions. I'll talk to him. You may talk to him. But I am going to protect myself first. What does that mean? It means I changed my locks. I moved important documents. And I will not discuss my finances with Tyler." Her voice changed then. "You changed the locks?" "Yes. Mom, he is your grandson. And this is my home." I hated saying it. I hated that it sounded like a line drawn in permanent ink. But it needed to be said. Melissa was quiet for so long that I thought she might have hung up. Then she said, "I'll call you later." She did not. That afternoon, I went to my bank and rented a safe deposit box. The banker who helped me was a young woman named Tasha. She spoke to me directly, slowly enough to be clear but never in the raised voice people use when they have already decided an older person cannot follow a conversation. I appreciated that more than she knew. I placed the Buick title inside the box along with the deed to my house, William's life insurance papers, copies of my will, and the small velvet pouch that held the gold watch he wore on our wedding day. When I closed the metal door, I felt a sharp grief rise in my throat, not because I doubted the documents were safer there, because I had never imagined I would need to hide them from my own family. On my way home, I stopped at the gas station near the grocery store. I was filling the Buick when my neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, called my name from the next pump. Rebecca, I haven't seen you in days. I smiled. I've been around. She looked past me at the Buick. Good. I was worried when I saw that young man at your house last week. My hand paused on the pump handle. What young man? Your grandson, I think. The tall one. Tyler. My heart began to beat harder. What was he doing? Mrs. Alvarez frowned, trying to remember. It was Tuesday. I was walking my dog around noon. He was parked near your driveway. I thought he was waiting for you, but then I saw him go into the garage. Did you see him leave? Yes. Maybe 20 minutes later. He had something under his arm. A folder, I think. I felt the cold even though the August air was warm. Was anyone else with him? No. Why? I told her only that I was sorting out some paperwork. She touched my arm gently. If you need me to keep an eye out, you tell me. At home, I went straight to the garage. I had not thought to check it because the Buick had been parked in the driveway the day Tyler took it to the dealership. But William had kept a metal lockbox on a high shelf in the garage, above the old paint cans and extension cords. It held spare keys, appliance manuals, and the paperwork for the small utility trailer we sold years ago. I dragged over a step stool, climbed carefully, and pulled the box down. The lock was open. Inside, the spare Buick key was missing. For a moment, all I could hear was the hum of the garage door opener and my own breathing. Tyler had not only planned to sell my car, he had taken a key. That meant he had access to it whenever he wanted. I called Nora immediately. She came over within 30 minutes carrying sandwiches from the deli and a look that told me she had already decided I would not be spending the evening alone. We sat at my kitchen table while the sky turned gray outside. I should report this, I said. Nora nodded. You should document it, certainly, but he is my grandson, and he is an adult. I don't want to ruin his life. Rebecca, she said gently, you did not create this situation. You are not punishing him for making a mistake. You are responding to a pattern. I stared at the missing key box on the table between us. What if he just wanted it in case I needed help? Nora gave me a sad look. Did he tell you he had taken it? No. Did he ask permission? No. Did he return it after the dealership? No. She took a small bite of her sandwich before continuing. A good excuse does not turn secret behavior into care. I knew she was right. That night, we called the Willow Creek Police Department's non-emergency line. An officer came to my house and took a report. He did not arrest anyone. He did not promise instant answers. He listened as I explained the dealership incident, the voicemail, the insurance inquiry, the disturbed files, and the missing spare key. When he finished writing, he said, Mrs. Clark, keep all records. Do not meet with him alone if you feel pressured. And if he tries to take the vehicle without your permission, call us immediately. I do not want him harmed, I said. The officer's expression softened. Protecting yourself does not mean you want harm for someone else. After he left, Nora stayed until almost midnight. Before going home, she helped me place a small motion-activated camera above the garage entrance. It was not hidden. I did not want to trap anyone. I wanted people to know my home was no longer an easy place to enter without being noticed. The next 2 days were quiet. Too quiet. Tyler did not call. Melissa sent one short message. I'm trying to get him to explain. I read it 3 times. Not I'm trying to understand what he did. Not I'm sorry this happened to you. I'm trying to get him to explain. The difference mattered. On the 3rd morning, I went outside to water the geraniums by the porch. The Buick was parked where I always left it, beneath the oak tree near the curb. The sun had just started warming the windshield. My phone chimed. It was a notification from the camera over the garage. At first, I thought it was a delivery driver. Then I opened the video. A dark pickup truck had pulled slowly in front of my house at 6:42 that morning. Tyler was in the driver's seat. He did not get out. He sat there for almost 5 minutes, staring at my Buick. Then he drove away. I watched the video twice. The 3rd time, I noticed something I had missed. There was someone sitting beside him. A man I did not recognize. And when the pickup pulled away, Tyler turned toward that man and handed him something small and metallic. Something that caught the morning light. Something that looked exactly like a car key. I called Officer Grant before I called anyone else. I sent him the camera video, the voicemail from the dealership that Mr. Hanley had agreed to provide, and photographs of the empty place in William's lockbox where the spare Buick key had been kept. He told me not to approach Tyler or the man in the truck. Then he asked me whether the Buick was currently secure. "It is in my driveway," I said. "Can you move it somewhere else?" I looked through the window at my car beneath the oak tree. "Yes," I said, "I can." Nora drove me to the bank, and I left the Buick in the long-term parking section behind the building where security cameras covered every entrance. I had permission from the branch manager to leave it there for a few days while I arranged a secure garage space. It felt strange walking away from my car, not because I thought it was gone, but because I understood that, for the first time in my life, I was taking precautions against a member of my own family trying to remove something from me. That afternoon, Officer Grant called again. "The dealership manager reviewed their security footage," he said. "Tyler was there the evening before your appointment. He came in with another man. The man from the truck? We cannot confirm that yet. But the footage shows Tyler discussing your vehicle with the sales manager. He also showed someone a key." My hands turned cold around the phone. What does that mean? It means the dealership did the right thing by stopping the transaction. And it means we need to understand whether Tyler was trying to arrange an unauthorized sale or whether he had already made promises to someone else. After I hung up, I sat at my kitchen table and stared at the chair where Tyler used to sit. When he was small, he called it Grandpa's chair, even though it was only an old wooden chair with a loose spindle that William kept meaning to fix. Tyler would climb into it after dinner and tell us about school. He had once been afraid of thunderstorms. During one terrible summer storm, he slept on our couch with his feet tucked beneath William's leg because he believed his grandfather could keep lightning from coming near the house. I wondered when that child had begun to believe my belongings were available to him. I wondered whether I had missed the moment because I was too busy remembering who he used to be. The next morning, Melissa came to my house. She stood on the porch with swollen eyes and both hands wrapped around her purse strap. I did not open the door right away. I looked through the side window first. Then I unlocked it. "Mom," she said, "come in." She walked slowly into the living room and looked around as if she expected to find the house changed. Maybe she did. Maybe it had changed. She sat on the edge of the sofa, the same sofa where William had watched football every Sunday afternoon, with a bowl of peanuts balanced on his stomach. "I talked to Tyler," she said. I remained standing. "And? He owes money to a man named Jared." I said nothing. "He borrowed it after his construction job ended. Then he borrowed more. He thought he could pay it back when he started driving for a delivery company, but he fell behind. Why did he think selling my car would solve that?" Melissa lowered her eyes. "Because he told Jared he could get it." The words sat between us. Not he hoped he could persuade me. Not he thought I might agree. He told a man he could get it, as if I were not a person, as if the Buick were already his to offer. "He told Jared I was planning to stop driving," Melissa said. "He said the car would be easy to sell because he had access to the title. But he did not have the title. No. He had access to my house and my records. That is different." Tears gathered in her eyes. "I know." I sat down across from her. "Did you know he had taken the spare key?" "No, I swear I did not." For the first time since this began, I believed her without hesitation. Melissa had made excuses for Tyler. She had minimized what he did because she loved him, and because fear can make a mother confuse protection with denial. But she had not helped him plan it. That mattered. Not enough to erase the damage, but enough for me to know where the truth ended. "Officer Grant has the footage," I told her. "The dealership has the voicemail. I filed a report. I cannot take that back." "I understand," Melissa whispered. "I do not want Tyler ruined. I know. But I will not let him frighten me into silence. He needs to understand that he crossed a line before someone else gets hurt." Melissa nodded slowly. "He's scared, Mom. So am I." That was the first honest thing either of us had said all morning. She looked up at me. "I'm sorry." I did not answer right away. An apology is not a magic word. It does not reach backward and undo every choice that brought us to that room. But it can be the first true thing after a long stretch of lies. "I am sorry, too," I said. "I am sorry that he is in trouble. I am sorry that he felt he could not tell us the truth. But I am not sorry for protecting myself," she cried then. Not loudly, just quietly, with her head bowed. I let her cry. A week later, Officer Grant asked me to come to the police station with Nora. Tyler had agreed to speak with an attorney present, and he had turned in the spare Buick key. The man in the truck was indeed Jared Collins, the person Tyler owed money to. Jared had not tried to steal the car himself, but Tyler had told him he could sell it quickly and give him part of the money. Tyler had brought Jared past my house that morning to show him the Buick. He had handed him the spare key so Jared could look at it later if Tyler was able to get the title. That was the plan. My grandson had intended to come back into my home while I was out, take the title from the file drawer, and complete the sale before I could stop him. If the dealership manager had not saved that voicemail, Tyler might have convinced people that I had simply changed my mind too late. If Mrs. Alvarez had not seen him in the garage, I might never have known the spare key was missing. If Nora had not told me to write everything down, I might have begun to doubt my own memory every time Tyler said I was confused. The truth was not found in one grand miracle. It was found in small facts that matched: a saved voicemail, a call to my insurance agent, a moved photograph, a missing key, a neighbor who paid attention, a dealership manager who listened to the actual owner of the car. Tyler was not charged with stealing the Buick because he had not succeeded in taking it. But the police documented the attempted unauthorized sale and the access to my property. With advice from a local attorney, I also sent him a formal written notice that he was not permitted to enter my home or take my property without my express permission. He had to sign an acknowledgement that he understood. I remember watching him sign it at the attorney's office. His hand shook. For the first time, he did not look angry. He looked young, not like the little boy I remembered, but like a grown man who had finally run out of people willing to soften the consequences of his choices. Afterward, he asked if he could speak to me alone. The attorney looked at me. I looked at Nora, who had come with me and sat nearby. Then I said, "Nora stays." Tyler nodded. We sat in a small conference room with a box of tissues in the middle of the table and a framed painting of a river on the wall. He stared down at his hands. "I'm sorry, Grandma. I waited. I know saying that doesn't fix it." "No," I said, "it does not. I didn't think it would get this far. You went to a dealership. You called my insurance company. You searched my files. You took a key. How far did you think it was going?" He swallowed. "I thought I could sell the car, pay Jared back, and then tell you it was for the best." For whose best? He had no answer. The silence lasted a long time. Then Tyler said, "I was ashamed to ask for help." I looked at him carefully. Tyler asking for help would have sounded like this. "Grandma, I am in trouble. I made mistakes. Can we talk?" His eyes filled with tears. "You did not ask for help. You tried to make me pay for your shame." He covered his face with both hands. I felt sorrow then, deep sorrow, but I did not let that sorrow become permission. "I love you," I told him. "That has never been the question. But I will not have a relationship with you that requires me to be afraid of you." He looked up. "What does that mean?" "It means you do not come to my house without an invitation. You do not ask about my money, my documents, my car, or my estate. You do not speak for me to anyone, and you do not get access again because you say you are sorry once." He nodded slowly. "What if I get help?" "Then you get help because it is the right thing to do, not because you expect a reward from me." Tyler began attending a financial counseling program through a local nonprofit. Melissa told me later that he had also taken a second job at a warehouse outside town. I did not give him money. I did not pay his debt. I did not call Jared. Those were problems Tyler had created, and he had to face them honestly. For a while, that decision kept me awake at night. I worried that I was being too hard. Then I remembered how hard it had been to sit in my own kitchen and wonder whether I could trust the people I loved. A boundary is not cruelty. A boundary is the place where love stops being used as leverage. 3 months after the dealership incident, I took the Buick in for a full inspection. The mechanic called me into the service bay and showed me the brakes, the tires, the fluids, and every small repair the car might need in the next year. "It's an older vehicle," he said, "but it's in good shape. Nothing unsafe here." I smiled. "How much to keep it that way?" He gave me an estimate. It was not cheap, but it was manageable. And more importantly, it was my decision. I had the brakes serviced, replaced 2 aging tires, and asked him to check the battery before winter. When I picked up the Buick, It drove smoother than it had in months. The first place I went was the cemetery. I parked beneath the maple tree near William's grave and carried a small bunch of yellow daisies from my garden. For a while, I sat beside him and told him everything. I told him about the dealership, about the voicemail, about the missing key, about how frightened I had been. Then I told him I had changed the locks. I could almost hear his answer. "Good," he would have said. "About time you made that door work for you." I laughed softly, even though my eyes were wet. On the way home, I stopped at the grocery store and bought ingredients for peach cobbler. I did not need a reason. I simply wanted to make one. That evening, I baked it in the kitchen. William and I had paid for. In the home I still controlled. After driving myself there and back in the Buick, Tyler had thought I would not even notice was gone. A few weeks later, Tyler mailed me a letter. It was handwritten. He did not ask for money. He did not ask for a key. He did not ask me to forgive him. He wrote that he understood why I had reported what happened. He wrote that he was embarrassed by the way he spoke about me at the dealership. He wrote that he had started counseling because he wanted to understand why he had treated my independence like an obstacle instead of something to protect. At the end, he wrote, "I hope one day I can earn the right to sit at your table again." I folded the letter carefully and placed it in my desk drawer. Not in the file cabinet, not with the documents he had searched through. In the drawer where I kept things that still needed time. I did not answer that day, but I did not throw the letter away. That was all I could offer then. Time, distance, the possibility of a better choice if he was willing to make one over and over again. My Buick is still in my driveway. Some mornings, I sit in it with my coffee before I go anywhere. I rest my hands on the wheel, look at the blue key tag William bought all those years ago, and remind myself that independence is not measured by how far you drive. It is measured by whether you are still allowed to choose your own direction. If this story reminded you that love should never require surrendering your voice, please subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to protect their independence. And tell me in the comments, when a relative crosses a boundary, do you believe trust can be rebuilt, or must access be earned all over again?